Just need to remember to stay.
Hey folks, welcome back to Ken Michaels Radio. And here on this channel, as you know, we talk Beatles all the time. The group years, the solo years, whatever comes to mind, we welcome all kinds of guests to the channel. And this time out, we have Steve Macdonald and Grant Roberts. They're both part of the band McDonald's Farm. And the reason why we're having them here is because with the passing of Denny Laine recently, they got together with Steve Holley, formerly of Wings, to record a version of Time to Hide, Denny's song from Wings at the Speed of Sound. And they actually used Denny's harmonica playing on the recording of the song. But we're going to talk about the band McDonald's Farm and how everything led to this and how they perform Beatle music regularly. But welcome, Steve and Grant, to the channel.
Nice to meet you,
Hi,
Ken.
pleased to meet you. Yeah.
Okay, tell us how the band started, first of all, when exactly you started, and you're both from Scotland, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're from Dundee. Dundee
Okay.
in Scotland. Yeah.
The band originally started many years ago in the early 70s.
Whew.
And like the Beatles, we went to Germany to play on the American bass circuit. So it was a good grounding because it was 8 hours a night, same as the Beatles, 45 on, 15 off, 6 nights a week, all over Germany, playing to a lot of Americans that different styles of music.
Were
That
they
was
any
in
of the same clubs that the Beatles played at, since you're talking the 70s now?
No, they were more in, these were bases, American Air Force,
Oh,
Navy, and Army bases. But I mean, the Americans were well catered for because you're a house band, 6 nights a week out of seven. And then once, twice a month, they would maybe get a name act, Benny King, whoever would come along and then perform. So it was great for us. I was obviously a good bit younger.
yeah.
And, and great experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Did the two of you start the band from the very beginning?
No, Grant's a bit younger than me, so he used to come and see me when he was underage. So I started the band, but Grant and I have been playing together for 40 years.
That's amazing.
To say that quickly, it doesn't sound long.
Uh-huh. So I know you said American bases in Germany, but did you play it all in Hamburg?
Strangely enough, it's the only place in Germany we haven't played. Um, I was to go and play in a place called the Macabre Club out that way, but it never came off. It was one of these things. And a very good friend of ours from our own hometown, he lives in Hamburg and he's played there for years. And we were always meaning to go across. We never ever actually got there. Haven't been there yet. It's the only place.
The place.
Towards that.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
definitely,
Yeah, absolutely.
definitely. It's on the bucket list, that one.
Now, when you have played, is it all over Europe, or are you more centered?
No. We've played all over Europe, so we've done lots of shows all over the place, including America. So we've been out there. We were out there. Was it the last 2 years ago? We were out in Los Angeles.
We
Stuff
were
like
in
that. Yeah.
Santa
Santa
Barbara,
Barbara. Yes.
played out there. Friends of ours were there, and they invited us to the Beach Boys after show party in a small pub. So we ended up going up playing with a couple of people, and the Beach Boys came on and did 45 minutes. It was
Just what they do in a pub on a Monday night. Yeah.
very, very surreal.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Do you ever play the East Coast of the US at all?
Yeah.
We lived in for the
Hyannisport.
small time in West Hyannisport, and we played in Nantucket, a place called the Chicken Box, and then we played in Martha's Vineyard. We played the Hard Rock Cafe in Boston, and then what was the name of that? The Last Chance
Well, the last
Saloon.
chance saloon or something. That's
That
right.
was like a biker's.
Uh-huh.
That was down in the Province or something, was it? Providence.
Providence.
Yeah.
Providence, yeah.
Yeah.
And we've done a couple of Beatles conventions there.
We've been around, Ken. We've been around.
Okay.
Matter of fact, Denny was meant to join us on one of them.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was a situation where he got into the country, but the paperwork was incorrect and he had to leave. he had to come back to Britain. So effectively, we were without a lead singer, although everybody in the band sung. But that was sad.
I wish I had known at that time that you played in that area because I'm a New Englander. So
Oh,
I love Cape Cod, that whole area.
Connecticut, that was another place we played, Connecticut.
I live in Connecticut, so I
Oh,
wish
very
I had
close.
known at that time. So we'll have to get you out here more often.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
when you started out, you did original material mainly?
yeah. It was a jazz rock band called the Elegy, and we played with a lot of bands from the early 70s, like Soft Machine, supporting them, Hatfield in the North, Gary Moore, who played with John Heisman's Coliseum too. And then there was a newspaper called The Melody Maker,
Right.
and we came joint first in the national rock jazz contest. Had to travel to London for the final at the Roundhouse in London, which went out live on Capital Radio. This is 74.
Hmm.
And people like Bob Harris of the Whistle Test, Roy Wood, Clifford T. Ward, Elkie Brooks, they were the judges. So
Uh-huh.
we did well there. And years later, I signed a publishing deal with the same, with Roy, when Roy Wood was signed to them as well. Met him many years later, you know. So that's where we started off.
Okay. So you have always had jazz leanings yourself?
You know what? I like jazz. You know, there was a CTI label, which was a collector's label many years ago. Kenny Burrell and Thelonious Monk, loads of great stuff on it. Freddie Hubbard, and I listened to that. I was into a lot of different styles of music. Apart from the Beatles and stuff. But yeah, I love jazz.
So how has the band evolved all these years? And when you've played in the US, is it mainly fans that are familiar with you performing Beatles music, or are any of them from your original material?
I think most of these people came to Liverpool in the early days, and
I seen us down there.
there's a good section of people out there that do know the band. Um, Charles Rosner, a good friend of ours, who run the Good Day Sunshine magazine. Now we've known Charles
Yes.
from the early days.
I've known
So,
Charles too. My
uh,
wife and I both have written for Good Day Sunshine. We've written
right.
for them.
But when they brought everybody across to our hometown in Dundee, 2001, just before the disastrous 9/11, actually.
Yeah.
Charles came out with a whole group of people and spent 4 days in Scotland in Dundee, and we hired the Caird Hall where the Beatles played twice. Brought Johnny Gentle up, who obviously the Beatles supported in Scotland.
Right.
We asked a good friend of ours, Andy Lothian, to compare it, and he was the one who was instrumental in bringing the Beatles to Scotland in the early days. He claims he coined the phrase Beatlemania, but that's up for discussion, I think.
Yeah. Did you
It was
get
good.
did you get to meet or know Johnny Gentle at all? Because I know he recently passed away.
Yeah,
Yeah. Johnny.
we played with them.
We
Yeah,
played with Johnny in Liverpool, and many years ago. And a matter of fact, we were always the band that played with these people: Johnny Gentle, Neil Innes, the Ruttles, Pete Best.
what was the other guy? The guy
Joey Molland, everybody. We were always the band. Mark Hudson.
Earl Slick. Just a lot. So
It's quite a pedigree, really, and great for us because obviously we admire a lot of these people.
yeah.
So when exactly did you become, more of a Beatles tribute band, or do you think of yourself that way first, or are you?
I play Beatles music because we love playing Beatles music. So it's not so much a tribute; it's the way that we interpret it. So
Uh-huh.
you know,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the suits and boots thing or the lookalike thing is one thing, but
but we play it from
the
the heart.
music stretches you. I mean, it's like the solo years after Beatles. After the Beatles.
Yeah.
There's great material there. I mean, it's amazing stuff.
You don't
You
need
know.
to tell me that. I've been
So
doing
I mean,
radio programs on the Beatles since 1982, and
yeah,
I'm a real champion of their solo careers. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
follow it religiously with every new release. I'm excited with every new record that Paul and Ringo put out to
Yeah.
this day. You
I
know,
think we all are. So it's,
I mean,
innovators.
Paul's amazing, recently, lucky enough to have been at both these shows in the Cavern when he did Run Devil Run and then the last one when Grant
Yeah.
and I were there. I
great.
mean, the guy came on and he was meant to do an hour and 20 minutes. He ended up doing about 2 hours, 40 minutes without taking a sip
It's
of water.
incredible.
And it was just,
Incredible.
and it's hot to play in the Cavern. I know he's used to that stuff, but he never sweated at all. He just, he just
Just
sailed
did what he
through it,
did.
Amazing.
Well, he's doing it because he still loves doing it.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the bottom
It's not
line.
for the money now. It's just he loves doing it. That's the way he does it. It's good.
right.
It's fantastic. Fantastic.
I always say every concert is a gift at this point because
Yeah.
he could spend the rest of his life with his wife and his kids and his grandkids and just take it easy.
So he doesn't have to do it. That's right.
I think it's the connection of the people. It must be amazing. We saw it on a lesser extent with Denny, when he came across to Liverpool and we did the two last shows at the Cavern Club. And in between each show, the dressing room door would be open, people would come in, and Denny would graciously go through, speaking to everyone, having time photographs that. There's a lot of guys that, they maybe don't connect as well with the fans and that. And I think that's maybe what it is with Paul as well, it must be amazing for him coming out there and the adulation's still there, the love for
Yeah.
him and his music, He's giving back and they're giving back, It's magical.
hmm So how would you describe the level of interest in the Beatles through the years as people who perform their music? Were there times when it really was at a height for you and maybe dipped down in popularity and came back up again, or has it been consistently strong all throughout?
I don't know. I think it's been consistently strong the whole way through. I mean, we obviously love Beatles music, so they inspired us. So that's the reason we love it. So it's not a job to us. It's an honor to do what we do. So we love it.
No, that's
I'm
right.
talking about the fans' reaction to your concerts.
All right.
Oh yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. No, it's always good. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's always good.
we were always one of these bands that, as you could probably appreciate, because you like the solo years too,
Yeah.
where people would be coming and doing twist and shout and doing whatever and all these things, but then we'd come up with things like "We Got Married" when it first came out, or "My Brave Face" when it first came out. I remember we were playing with Denny, and the lad said we had to go on beforehand, and Paul had just brought in "My Brave Face."
Yeah.
And well, start with that. And I think, well, I don't know, we should start with that. Danny's sitting out front, and but we did. And he come up and he went, was that Paul's new single? I went, yeah. And he went, no, he sung that well, sounds good. So,
Mhm.
The thing is, it's like even the Fireman. We did the Fireman when that was just like.
yeah,
So we did it. I think
sing the changes.
Sing the changes. Sorry, yeah, that's right. So at the end of the day, they wanted a new song. We learnt it just before we went on. We just Googled the words. We knew the song, so it was only a week or something. So it's
Right.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think most of the people that we've seen over the years expect us to do maybe something that other bands aren't doing. We did Water Spout and things, and The Mess, things like that,
Cool.
So, you kind of, that keeps our interest going as well, because you think,
I like the obscure ones. I like the ones that are so obscure, because everybody plays "She Loves You." Yeah, yeah, So I like to be different. We both like to be different.
Yeah.
the bands like the Fab Four and stuff, Gavin and Artie, and they're great. You want to go to a Beatles experience. They're amazing, The Cavern Club Beatles, Captain Hastings and Adam Hastings. That's one aspect.
Right.
But after the Beatles and things, the solo years, George Harrison, there's so much wealth of material. you're spoiled for choice. You know, you'd have to play all night.
That's one of
You
the
know,
reasons I never get bored with the Beatles is because there's so much amazing material.
yeah,
You know, once you include all the solo music, some people are happy with just what they did as a group. When you add all the solo music together, including everything that they're doing right up to today, it's endless what you can pull from. And that's why I enjoy doing the radio show and talking about every era of the Beatles. I mean, they're still the same four guys on their own, the same songwriters, and even Ringo has become more of a songwriter the
yeah.
last several decades. So your band is more to my liking than a lot of the other bands that are kind of predictable in what they can do. I don't really go for the boots and suits bands myself. I know there's a lot of people that do, but and Steve, I'm sure you've been told that your face does resemble Paul
I
somewhat.
thought you were saying Ringo there.
A
Yeah.
little bit, yeah.
Is there one guy that does all the Paul songs and one that does all the John songs, or it doesn't really matter who?
Well,
No,
everybody sings.
just
Everybody in the band sings.
so we just mix it. You know, if somebody likes a particular song, you know, do that one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, No, because it's the music that's important, you know, and it's something you change it slightly, you know, or you know. Well, that was a big thing with Denny because Denny would obviously, you know, let's expand that a little, let's try that, you
And
know.
then he never played the same thing twice the same way. You know,
No,
that's right. He just come out and he'd play it and you think, oh, he's never done that before. So, but we just followed along and we just did it. So it wasn't predictable because he never played the things the same way.
Just to
So
make sure you bring up Danny all the time for all of our listeners who can you tell them who Danny is?
Denny Laine,
Oh, Denny Laine. I thought you said Danny. I'm sorry.
no,
Danny,
but
that's
Denny
my
Laine,
Scottish
That,
accent.
it's our accent.
okay. You have to forgive
Yeah.
my American accent, my American hearing. That's the problem, really. But have you noticed, like, I'd be curious to find out from your experience in doing the solo music, what songs get the best reaction? Do they tend to like the more obscure, or do they still want the big hits like A Band on the Run, Imagine kind of thing?
I think the way we play it when we play in the club, unless it's a show, an actual show, a proper, festival,
Uh-huh.
that's where you can do these obscure songs. If you were to do it in the club on a club night, they'd be going, "What's that song?"
Yeah.
Because they just want to come in and dance. So yes, the club's kind of predictable, but the shows are different. You know,
But the thing about songwriting and things like that, Paul McCartney, I remember when we were at that
yeah,
concert, and as soon as he did For You, instantly you went like that.
yeah,
I mean, he's got this amazing ability to write a song and immediately it's finished. It's still in your head.
that's right.
And For You was one of them for me. As soon as he done it, I went, it's a great song. That's commercial.
Yeah,
And I know a lot. I remember reading some reviews and people saying, these are straightforward chords. McCartney's going with the mainstream. It's not his usual. And I thought, I think they're missing the point on this. That's one of these songs where it always grows on you. And we get asked for that song all the time.
I just got an idea. Okay, I'm going to move this computer a bit. Hang on a second. Is that better?
That's
Why
bad.
do why do we do that the first
Like seeing the guitar side.
time? Yeah. That's,
But, that's the kind of thing that, the exciting part of doing radio shows is to slip in these songs in there that the average person doesn't know.
yeah, absolutely.
So, same thing with when you do shows live. But I'm
Yeah,
sure that there must be times when you're doing the stuff that people kind of expect. If you're going to do solo, you probably do Live and Let Die. You probably do Maybe I'm Amazed, those songs, or My Sweet Lord, or um, I just want to know in general, um, a songs like For You that the crowd really
yeah, they love
appreciates you doing.
they do love it.
Yeah, I mean they do. They go. I mean, a lot of the people that go to the Cavern Club are not Beatles fans. You know, they're
There's kids that come off the
you
street for
know,
the dances.
yeah, It's a real cross section. You'll get the Friday. We do a Friday night. We do a Saturday night. Then we go across. So we do the club Friday and Saturday. Cross to the pub, Cavern Pub, and we do a whole different set and mix it. And then we do Sunday at the club, which is more your Beatles, oriented.
Yeah. The pub's more general public, so they're just coming in for to hear some music. It could be Steely Dan we're playing. It could be anything we're playing. So that's it.
Well, when you're at the Cavern, is it always strictly Beatles?
No,
it's not strictly the Beatles, but you try and get back to the brand because obviously you're playing in the Cavern Club.
Yeah.
So people expect you to play some, a lot.
It's kind of 60s oriented and that, and then.
Okay.
But to be fair, Ken, all the bands that play, the resident bands, they're all good. They're all good at what they do. So everybody does something different. So it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing we've been talking about because when you read the old reviews and Paul or John, more Paul talking about the early days, and they'd be sitting there waiting to go on. And the band before them's just played all their set. So they're going, we're going to go on and repeat it. So that's what made them start writing or looking for obscure B-sides. So it's not any different now. So all these years on, it's still like you're sitting there and go, they never used to play that. They just played, cut them out, we'll just pull in some more obscure. So we're just talking about that now. Just last week we went, right, in 2 weeks' time, let's have 30 new numbers. You learn 12. So that's what, and that kind of keeps it fresh. So it's good for us. Keeps you on your toes.
So
but that's it.
At the Cavern itself, is it a mixture of different ages or is it basically young people?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Right across.
It's right across all ages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From young, I mean, kids, young kids are allowed at a certain time.
And I always find amazing the young kids dig the whole thing. It's great. Just to see them. They've probably never seen the Beatles. Well, they haven't seen the Beatles, but they love the music. So
there's some kids that are, they're dressed up. They've got the replica guitars, and it's brilliant. It's very good.
Yeah, well, I see it at the Fest for Beatle fans and conventions here in America. A lot of fans like to dress up like them. Some of them dress up in Sergeant Pepper clothes or the early suits and all that.
The thing is, we still get a buzz from the whole thing, so it's really good. And once that finishes, once we stop getting it, that's the time to stop playing. But we still get it at this age, so it's great. It's fantastic.
Have you ever done anything like a salute to one album and played the whole thing through, that kind of thing?
Quite a lot, yeah. We've done loads. We've done.
Yeah. Every year we get an album to play.
Yeah.
So every year for a festival we pick an album, whatever it may be, and the bands that are there will pick an album. So we'll all do a different album from the Beatles.
It's a different album.
Okay.
And there was a few years where they've had. We had Jeff Baker, who was Paul's PR.
Sure.
So he would come along and Mark Lewisham would interview him about specific things. He would have picked maybe 6 songs. And then he would say, there's a story regarding this one. And then we would play it. So that was the way the interview went. Jeff Baker, Mark, or Joey Molland about Badfinger, and he would pick songs and we'd play it. And so that's pretty interesting. And then at night we would do the concert with Joey or whoever, and that type of thing. So that was a bit refreshing,
Have you ever heard from any of the Beatles about your band? Did you ever meet any of them?
Paul, I've met Paul quite a few times. We did Paul's party in Liverpool after he played the Dogs. He wasn't there, everybody else was. That was in the Moat House. Yeah. So that's the first time he played the Dogs in the 90s. We were there, George Martin and all this, and
in the Cavern,
and the band, Wixie, the keyboard player, Chris Whitten, and Robbie McIntosh, because we
played with Robbie down in London.
We played with Robbie, when we went down to do
Fleetwood Mac's.
Fleetwood Mac's charity do. And the Wings sound man had passed away, so Denny said, look, can we do half a dozen of? So we got there, and Robbie was on with
Van Morrison's keyboard.
Van Morrison and Richard Thompson. So
Oh,
they
wow.
were playing. So then we went on and did Go Now and Say You Don't Mind and a couple of Wings things. But and then Robbie was we were talking about the that party and things. So yeah, we've met a few. I've met Paul a few times. I met him in London in '72 the first time. And obviously the first Beatle I'd ever seen could have been Jesus Christ to me, because he was just it was mind blowing. But the first guy I ever met was Mal Evans.
Oh.
Met Mal outside Apple, and that was in the same year. And then over the years, we've met him a couple of times. I was lucky to be at Linda's birthday party in Dundee, in my hometown, on the last day of the Wings UK tour before they come to do Wings Over America. And that's how I met Denny. So I was with Denny, and then 14 years later, he remembered me from that party. He says, you're on the video we all watched. And I said, you remembered me? He went, yeah. And that's how it came about. You know, he said, I said, look, I loved your original material. And he went, well, like which one? And I went through the Child. That was great. He said, well, you record it. I said, okay. And that's how we started. Next thing, he came up to the hometown, played with us. We played the Corn Exchange in Cambridge. And then we went to Charles's Trumbull Marriott,
well,
to do the American thing with Denny. He got in, but because he didn't have the right paperwork, it took his fingerprints, and he had to come out. And then we met him and then played in the Marquee, and that's how it all started. So, but that was
it's been a blast.
1989.
Yeah, it's been good.
You know, so it wasn't long after Ones and stuff.
So talk about Denny and what it was like being friends with him. Did he talk a lot about his music, his past, his time with Paul, or what exactly?
I mean, Denny was always writing, always immersed in music, you know, always trying to do something different. At the time when we got to London, to Wraysbury, it was a town called, Denny was living in Windsor at that point. So he was about 4 miles away from where we were staying.
Great grandstore, yeah.
And he had just started doing demos for one of his solo albums. So we were learning all that, as well as some of the Wing songs which he did do. You know, the ones that he was more involved with Paul. But we were playing the Marquee Club, and it was on my birthday in March, and it was busy, and we came off and the crowd was shouting for more, and the manager that he had said to him, you know, you have to go back, and he says, no more material, we'll have to play rock and roll. And Grant and I said to him, no, we'll do the Wings medley. And he went, what Wings medley? And we said,
Speedway?
Yeah, we just said, just you be Denny Laine. So we've got this video of us in the Marquee Club in London, starting with Venus and Mars and the Rock Show. And it's a medley, you know.
You'll actually see someone on the single, on the video.
It's on, yeah, it's on.
On the video on YouTube, you'll see someone.
And you see Denny, and he's just looking like that. But that was getting him back into the way of touching on some of that stuff again. Because I don't know, I suppose he didn't want to be seen to be cashing in at that stage. You know?
Of course, Steve, he got us the job, or he spoke up for us for Cynthia Lennox place as well. So
yeah, Cynthia Lennon had a half share with a good friend of ours who's still a friend to this day, a guy called Peter Stockton, and they had Lennon's Rock and Roll restaurant, which was right next door to Stringfellows in St Martin's Lane in Covent Garden. And I said to Danny, did you know Peter? He went, yeah. I said, would you come up to London with me and give us the recommendation? So we did. And we played in there, and it was lots of stars would come in, and he would come in. We actually did the opening night with him. and it was Brian Poole, Chris Farlow,
Yeah.
guys from the 60s.
Uh-huh.
He just got them to go now, so you don't mind, a couple of wings things, and it was great. You know, it was brilliant.
We did that for a couple of years, didn't we?
Mm. Yeah. Interspersed with going to Spain and
Yeah.
and Europe and stuff, and playing Denny's show, you know.
I've interviewed Denny a few times, and the first time that I interviewed him, he was telling me how Paul was always encouraging him to write.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really until like the London Town album where they wrote a lot of material together. There were 5 songs on the album that were co-writes. But I always wondered, it seemed like based on what I've been reading in the new McCartney Legacy series that came out, the books that written by Alan Kozin and Adrian Sinclair, that he didn't think too much of himself as a songwriter early on.
Well, you know, he's quite innovative.
I thought he was incredibly talented, you know, and it was really, you know, it was really good waste of time. If you never really understood something, you'd spend the time with it. So it was good.
I mean, when we went to London and we were in St. John's Wood, I remember him pointing out to me, he says, right, we were in an establishment having a liquid lunch, so to speak. And he said, that flat across the road there, he says, that's where I wrote Say You Don't Mind. That's a band called Pentangle used to live in that. And I said, I remember them. You know?
Well, Simon and all these guys were.
So, you know, I think once, you know, being into so much of the original stuff after the Beatles, when you start to doodle with another musician jamming about it, you can kind of get from the way they play how much he might have contributed to certain things, whether it be brass lines and things, and just a certain style. And Denny had a really unusual style, you know.
We always said, Ken, that even Linda McCartney, without Linda McCartney in the band, it wouldn't have that sound.
Yeah, I mean,
and she got slated for, you know, her playing or whatever, but she was a part of that sound, that whole thing.
Yeah, because it's Paul McCartney with Stevie Wonder, Paul McCartney with Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney with Denny Laine. You know, you think of Band on the Run, it's predominantly the three of them. But Linda's voice, you take Linda's voice out, it's not wind. You know, her voice just sits there perfectly.
She was an integral part of the group. There's no question about that.
Absolutely.
And to me, as much as I value the fourth and fifth members of Wings through the years, defining Wings is Paul, Linda, and Denny Laine, because they were the nucleus of the band. And after Wings left, there was a huge difference in the sound on Paul's records without having Denny to harmonize with him, and in the songwriting. And even Linda had less of a role on Paul's solo music after Wings. You know, she's there, but not nearly the presence that she was during the Wings days.
Yeah.
So, and the fourth and fifth members contributed a lot too to the group. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you don't know about, and all you do is look at the songwriting and you just see McCartney, but the other members can contribute something that you may not know a lot about. So,
and it's the style, because the style changes. You know, Paul kind of reinvents himself too. You know, he's adaptable. You can hear that the way it goes. You know, I mean the variation on the material he writes, the vocal range. You know, that he brought. I mean, you think. I remember sitting in the front row in Dundee in 1975, and he's singing. You're hearing
incredible voice.
It's just mind-boggling
to
hear him singing that. And you know, you can only imagine what it was like in the Cavern at his height. You know, but I mean, when Long Tall Sally on the early Wings too, I mean, it's just amazing. You know, I mean, it's rock and roll. You know, it's amazing. You've seen one of the original pioneers who by his own admission, took so much from American artists,
right,
and threw his accent on it, same as Lennon. I mean, Lennon McCartney, the voices, the blend, you know. It's
It's
just
one of the many great things about the Beatles is how they admitted how they took so much from American artists.
incredible.
But
Did
ironically,
nothing.
the body of music they've had just in the short time they were together, that's
Yeah,
just incredible. That's
Wow.
incredible.
yeah. Before we talk about Time to Hide, you mentioned Joey Molland a lot, and I've had the chance to interview Joey several times. In fact, when I started this YouTube channel, I wanted him to be my first guest, and
Yeah.
he was. This is 4 years ago when he put out his Be True to Yourself album, which Mark Hudson produced.
Yeah,
Julian Lennon's on there. Steve Holley's on there
Yeah.
it's
on
awesome.
the Joey Molland album. But um, you, I guess, became really good friends with Joey through the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Joey got in touch with me maybe about 40 years ago. Just called out the blue. A good friend of ours called Richie Rutledge, who's from Liverpool. He was a great friend of Joey's.
Crying shames, wasn't
Crying Shames he was
Yeah.
in. He played with Badfinger for a little while, but he moved to Nashville.
Hmm.
He must have been saying something, telling Joey about something. The call, I came into the house and my mother-in-law went, "Oh, there's a guy been on from America for you." And I went, "Oh, yeah, who's that?" And she went, "His name's Joey Molland." I went, "You're kidding." And she went, "No, he's going to call you back." So I sat by the phone because I loved Badfinger. And phone goes, and Joey comes on with that voice. You can still hear it in my ears. And the man, he says, "Hi, Steve." He says, "My name's Joey Molland. You probably don't remember me. I used to play in a band called Badfinger." I says, "You kidding me?" Yes, of course I remember you. And then, of course, we met him, and then he was
Just a nice guy.
See,
Just a nice bloke.
he was such a nice guy and so energetic, Joey. You know, he was always happy. I'll remember the last time we rehearsed with Errol Slick, Mark Hudson, Joey, and there was a guy doing a David Bowie thing, and Joey was sitting at the opposite end from us, and he's screening over to see the chords and that, you know, and whatever. And he just had that, I don't know,
But you know, it's just
impish kind of
a big camaraderie when you're on stage. It's good.
Yeah, he was great. He
Right.
was great. It's so sad, but Joey.
That's one thing that struck me about him. He's always so positive,
Yeah.
and I find it inspirational in a way, but hard to believe when you consider all the bad luck
Yeah.
he had to deal with how the band was royally screwed money wise, and Pete and Tommy committing suicide, and yet one time when I saw him in concert after the show and he's signing autographs, he's saying, "I'm a lucky guy." A lot of people in the same position as him would not be saying that, you
No,
know?
no. He was always positive, Joey. I mean, that one of the first times in Liverpool, he came all that we were playing the Cavern Club, and it was a Beatles convention. And we had done the night before with him. He had a three-piece band at that time. And he loved it. And he says, "No, we'll meet up later on."
Yeah.
And I went, "Yeah, great." But he came all the way down from the Cavern and says, "Steve, I've got to go. Tell Grant, I'll see you guys." I says, "You don't have to come down, Joe." He says, "Yeah." He says, "In this business, when you meet people and you get on with them, you've got to go that wee bit extra."
I know.
And he wouldn't just palm it off. It
Hmm.
was important to him that he made the effort to come and say,
Do you know what?
"Great meeting you."
I always remember him. He had always had a smile on his face. He was never, he never came across, but he always was smiling. He was just a nice guy.
So enthusiastic,
It was,
Joey.
yeah.
Yeah.
And great with people, great with the fans, which I like, you know, I mean, I'm a fan, you know.
We're all
We're all
fans.
fans,
We're all
you
fans.
know, so you want people treated with a bit of respect, just
Totally.
as you should do, you know. And he was great. He always
He's
said,
been there, he's seen it and done it. So he's done it. So
He always
yeah,
wanted to chat every time you ran into him. As soon as I saw him, his arms came out, for a hug.
yeah, totally,
You know,
totally.
he was always like that with me. So
I think he had his partner with him last time we seen him, but she was lovely as well. So Mary, that's right, yeah. So, but it's so sad. We're getting to that age now. Everything's happening, So
yeah, between losing Denny and now Joey, it's been
oh,
brutal,
yeah.
just great
Uh,
people.
But you know what, Ken? Something's got to get you. That's the thing. Eventually, something's got to get you.
So tell us how you came together to record Time to Hide, and you got Steve Holley on there too.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll play with Steve quite a bit. Well, actually, in '92, we did what was probably the very first get together of a Wings reunion, because we had been playing with Denny. We did Amsterdam, met Lawrence. He came across, met Steve in Liverpool. So the idea was to get everybody together to do this show. No rehearsal. A friend of ours from who used to play in the Average White Band, who is a band that's kind of some local guys from our hometown and Alan. He'd done some parts for us, which we had on DAT, because the keyboard player we had at that time was limited, to say the least. So, and I remember we spent meticulous time in his Grant studio, color coding everything, because we had a drummer. There was something else on it. Steve, 3 drummers, So I'm in the dressing room just before we're going, Steve, if you come on and do this one and do that one, and then we'll go and we'll change it there. And if you come along, we'll do coming up. And Steve's going, oh, can I not play on coming up? And I went, well, and Denny just turned around and went, just let's all go on and follow Steve and Grant. No, it's you might as well rip everything up.
I'm hitting buttons.
Throw it all away.
For the keyboard player, I'm just starting something, So.
But it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
Fortunately, somehow it worked the whole night. But so you've got the only people missing, are Paul and Linda.
So we had the whole Wings up there, apart from Paul and Linda.
It's Wings, for the people, and it was mobbed. And we're doing all the Wings stuff, and we're doing Moody Blues stuff, and we threw some Beatles stuff with them. It was just everything. It was just a great night, So that's how we come to know Steve, and then we've played with him over the years. When Denny passed away, I said to him, we should do a song, and it just felt like the right thing to do. And I said, let's phone Steve. So I phoned up Steve from the car. We were heading down to Liverpool and just said, look, I fancy recording Time to Hide. Do you want to play on that? Yeah, count me in. So we went into the studio and did the guy's vocal and just the bass and the guitars and things. Sent it to Steve in New York, who then put the track, sent it back, we finished it up. And we did the same with the B-side, which is a song I wrote years ago. And that was it, really.
I think Steve's going to play on the rest of the album.
Well, that was the idea. We've got 9 tracks that we had started that are kind of there. I mean, and it's a case of just getting back into that and getting the stuff out. Stevie's going to play on all of the stuff.
Oh, nice.
That's the idea. So we've just been held up because of the pandemic. Then Grant's been under the weather. He's been ill for the past couple of months, so he's recovering. Thankfully,
yes.
So that's kind of held us up,
Now, how did you get the harmonica playing from Denny to put that into the song? Was that from?
In this very studio, he has this thing.
Basically, it's an AI thing. So there was the last recording. There's the last show we did with Denny. He was playing it live. So we managed to take that off the track and put it in the track. So it's actually Denny played.
It was because of what Paul and Ringo did with John, and I mentioned it to Grant. I says,
can we do that?
Can we go? Because we can't play harmonica, and there's one guy in Dundee. I mean, there's a few that probably play harmonica, but one guy we know, and his hygiene isn't of the best, so nobody will have him in the studio.
He's a great player.
He's an incredible player.
I've never seen so much water coming out of a harmonica.
So he's banned. So I thought, there's nobody better than what Dan, and we'll listen to the live recording. Listen to that.
Right.
So Grant managed to do it, and that's what we did. We got Denny on it, and it was just brilliant. Because he actually, it's almost like the record, but I think he plays it. He seems to go for it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Brings it
So the harmonica was solo on one track. You didn't have anything else recorded on the track.
No, that was a show that we'd done previously with Denny, a live show.
It's a live show, the Cavern.
And we took the harmonica off that show.
Isolate it.
And put it on.
No, but I'm saying, was it a multi-track recording or was it taken?
No, it was
live.
live.
It was live. It was a live recording, which we just took his harmonica playing off.
It was the very first track that we did. We did 2 shows. This was the first show, first song, and the harmonica. So we had to sort of scrub everything on.
We actually have a great studio engineer in Dundee that we use all the time. A guy called Graham Watt, and you know, he helped us do this. So he's super. He's amazing. So
okay, I'm just trying to clarify here. I'm thinking of, even though it's live, it could have been on, you know, a multi-track recording with a mixer.
Well,
this is all from the video from the concert.
Yeah, I think it's off somebody. Somebody must have captured it on phone.
No, they did. Yeah.
They captured it on phone, but we managed to clean it up. You know, we didn't. Graham Watt did, but obviously we had the idea to do this. So
right.
But
okay, so that's pretty amazing, right?
Great job. Did a great job.
And Grant, your vocals are fantastic on it.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you.
That wasn't the guide vocal that you just said, that you had to redo it, right? Or was that what you said?
I think Steve and I went and we did the whole track in about 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, everything. The bass was done in basically 2 takes. The guitar, I used an old Vox.
You overdubbed a couple of things there.
But the solo, what was played.
Yeah.
It was just straight off the back. A couple of wee things added, but 2 hours and the vocal and all the bits we had done were finished. They were done quick.
And Graham Watt, the studio engineer, he mixed it, played keyboards, mixed it, you know, edited whatever had to be edited. So it was good. He did a really good job. So
okay. Now, the video that you made is really a lot of fun to watch because it's Denny through the years, photos with Denny and the Diplomats. What's that?
Did you see my hair? God, I had
I couldn't recognize you.
White jacket.
The thing is, because everybody thinks it's Mull Kintyre at the start, but it was just my little phone down at our local beach. And I came out of the studio and thought, I just want to do it, and I just took a wee landscape kind of thing, and that was it. Everybody thinks it's Mull Kintyre, and it's not.
There's a place called Broughty Ferry Beach, Dundee.
So, and then the Marquee Club's on it, the Old Trout's on it. There's a bit of the Wings reunion. There's the Cavern, and then there's. I got in touch with MP&L, and Paul was incredible. He allowed us. He sent 20 different films and stuff, and said pick 26 and do. So we did. We put it together, and obviously we kept in touch with MP&L all the way. They were incredibly helpful and supportive, and we got that down to them. And only one little thing, there was one, because Graham was so good, where one time I had with the backing vocals that we were singing. There's the bit of Wings where Paul and Denny are singing it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one little bit where it was just Paul. So he just said, is it possible you could just take that little bit out? You know, because it's more about Denny. And we went, of course. You know, and I kind of thought that at the time, because it was Graham who put it together.
And he lip synced the whole thing.
He lip synced it, so it actually looks like Paul singing it, which he is, but not on the record. You know, so, but no, they were amazing. And they also, because Time to Hide is published by MP&L. So I had to get in touch with Mark in New York, and he called me back for the license. And Paul gave us the license for free. And the matter of fact, you had to pay $1 for it, and he paid it. So it was really good. And at the moment, we've got a limited edition. As I say, it's the way things have worked out with releasing it. It took so long to get it together, to get it to that stage.
Months?
Near a year, really.
Yeah.
But then things have been kind of held up a little because Grant's fighting his way back to health. Yeah. So what we've got to do is we are hoping that we can get it with maybe a company that wants, because we're gigging musicians and we paid for it, but we're hoping to get it that somebody's going to come on with it.
And champion the whole thing.
The champion it, obviously. But the limited edition that we got, they're with Elizabeth. That's the whole point. But it'd be great, you know, any way, whether the recording was used in something, then that money's
money for the state, you know, just
the state. I think it's slightly complicated at the moment until it's resolved. You know, Denny's estate and things to look in. But it's all set in there. As I say, it's a great feeling to know that Paul's been so helpful with us with this. You know, because when I called up, it was a cold call, and they said, "What's your name?" And I went, "Steve Macdonald." And come back and just email it all in, and graciously said, "Yeah," which was, I think, tremendous.
NPL's been fantastic.
They've been good.
Fantastic.
But you didn't talk to Paul throughout all this, right?
No.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to Paul about it.
But he would have been consulted because it wouldn't have went ahead without him. So
sure. Had to be run past.
Yeah,
so you know, he personally oversaw the video and the.
So we're assuming he must have liked the song.
Ben did say to me, you know what? I think there's a documentary getting made at the moment, and when Ben asked me how I met Denny and stuff, he says that's what should be in the documentary. It's the kind of things, you know. I mean, there'll be loads of people like us, you know, fans that I've met, and I think it's good. It gives you heart, you know. I mean, it's obviously for security reasons nowadays, you know, the things that are going on and things, you know, since Lennon, what happened to John, and then, you know, of course, we've got to close the club. Unfortunately, we live in a volatile world, you know.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, many of the photos in the video were supplied by Denny's wife, right?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
But
So,
the permission for Linda's pictures came from MP&L, because there's some of these are Linda's, you know. But yeah, Liz.
Yeah, the early photos of the Moody Blues, Denny and the Diplomats, that stuff is all from Elizabeth?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's great to put in all the stuff from Rock Show in there. That's really fantastic to see.
That's all from Paul. That's all from him.
Obviously.
Yeah, as I say, he sent, there was like a list like that of films. He says, pick 20 seconds of what you want and stuff. And then every step of the way, every bit that was said was vetted, you know, to make sure it was all correct, you know, and acceptable. And even now, you know, we will be going down to MP&L to see the people that we dealt with. One of the guys called Ben Chappell, we'll go and see then. And there's a couple of things we want to do. We'll have to run it past them as well, you know, as we progress.
How is Elizabeth doing now? How is she?
I spoke to her. She just moved into a new apartment. You know, downsized. You know, she's had a tough time. We haven't actually met before. So, we've spoken to her pretty much every other week since Denny passed away, just to, you know, keep the connection open, make sure she's okay, help her any way we can.
We just want to raise as much money for the estate as we can, because Denny was a friend of ours. So
she seems to be, she's quite rightly so. I mean, we do know quite a lot of what went on at the time when we were with Denny. So I suppose until the lawyers get everything in place, because Denny was a successful musician, and like anything in the music business, it's not everything's being cut, and should he have been in this kind of position, who knows? There's things that need looked into and sorted out properly, I would think.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that myself, as well as many fans, were wondering why they had to raise money for his hospital costs.
Well,
Given his long career in the music business, why
just
should there have been a struggle? Hmm?
look at the Badfinger film,
Sure.
and that one
As I'm
thing,
saying, but all is not what it seems. It's just
Same thing with Joey.
yeah, same thing, same thing. But I mean, yeah, for Pete Ham to be in such a position to
wrote some great songs as well.
Pete Ham is in. I mean, Badfinger were an incredible band, a great band.
Yeah.
And songwriters, and I mean, it's sad every time you listen to. We're putting a set together right now. I've got a set written up. We're doing a tribute to Joey in Liverpool at the Beatles convention, and I've got the playlist on the car, and you're sitting listening, and you're thinking, "Geez, it should not be," but it's the music business, And over the years, people that was Neil Innes. Neil used to call us and say, look, because we did the Ruttles album with Neil the very first time it was done live in the Blue Coat in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And when I met Neil, I says, will you join us on stage? And he went, Steve, I haven't played it since we recorded. I says, don't worry, we know it. Just go and have a good time. And Neil was one of the nicest guys you could ever meet.
Yeah.
And
sadly, he's gone as well now.
But Neil said to me, and he used to call up from all over the world with some crazy things and say he was just unique, Neil. It was unique, but he had a hard time too. I think eventually he got it sorted out, but it's just the way the music business is. There's so much money involved, and it's so convoluted. Denny shouldn't have been in that position, but unfortunately he was. And hopefully that may get resolved at some point. I would like to think so. For all these guys, or their families, because they deserve it.
Yeah. Now you've got AI coming on board, stealing stuff. It's not right. Musicians, stuff that they're writing, so it's not good.
It's been going on forever.
Yeah.
And ironically, Paul was one of the first ones to start it. Now and then.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he's doing it with what they have.
Yeah,
it's them.
It's different.
It's an outsider coming in.
Yeah, take it's Paul's voice or somebody else's voice. That's right. Paul did it with his band.
Yeah. So, I mean, I saw something the other day, and it looks a bit dubious. It's about a John Lennon kind of thing. He's still alive.
There was another one as well.
Strange, it's
I
don't know, For entertainment and stuff, it could be good. Any kind of technology it's good in some ways, but in other ways
if it's abused, it could be horrible. I mean, there's so much you could do with today's technology that's remarkable, where you can actually improve the sound of things that happened in the past, but at the same time you can create things that never existed in the first place, and you could actually end up confusing a lot of young fans that won't know the difference.
No,
and
you're
that
right.
really bothers me a lot. I mean, what happened with Now and Then to me was beautiful. The work they could put into that. I mean, that's not what I call AI. It's not artificial. It's just real voice.
It's the band. It's the band that he plays it.
Right.
That's right. And he's using John's voice from the band.
I mean, the
Right.
whole aspect of putting free as a bird or real
Yeah.
love or whatever. I mean, these are great. These are gems that
But
it's just
the
brilliant.
thing is, I think with the say I as well, people will say, I'm just using Paul as an example. Take Paul's voice and they'll make a new song, and the young kids will think it's Paul McCartney.
Or
Yeah,
they'll
I
take
mean,
one of his songs, change his voice so it's a younger Paul,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right. Yeah,
you
that's
know,
nuts.
and then some people write in saying, "Oh, this is so much better." It's not the real thing, you know,
No,
oh,
I
'cause,
agree. That's when I think it's abusive,
yeah, totally.
and you're right. I mean, it's if you think back to any of us that started playing, whether it was before computers and when I think of some of the lyrics you've been singing for years because you kept putting the needle back
Listen to
uh-huh.
the
and you're
record.
right, and you went, I've been singing that wrong for 40 years. That's not the words. And now young fans will miss that point. You want them to go and see a guy sitting with a guitar, or and two people sitting singing, interacting and doing
You know
something.
what?
Whether it's good or bad, mistakes
I
and
like
all,
mistakes as
you know,
well.
Yeah,
you
That's
know,
because we're
it's
human.
it's real. It's what got us all into music. So
Yeah.
it's
I know. It's
definitely.
it's a subject that is just it's great for having a debate. The whole subject of what you can do with today's technology and should it be done. When you think about all the Beatles recordings that may exist out there, I mean the big case in point is the Star Club tapes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you could improve the sound quality and isolate the instrumentation and mix it so that it sounds really good, if you can boost up the vocals, because a lot
Mhm.
of what's on the Star Club, the vocals aren't really upfront enough, but you hear the guitars loud and clear or whatever. If you can play around with it so that it's as close to possible to what it was, wouldn't that be
I agree.
interesting?
I agree with that.
See,
You
That's
know,
using it in the right way.
the thing is, I saw an interview with Ringo just yesterday. I watched it, because and he's talking about Shea Stadium,
yeah,
and which is amazing when you think about it, because there they are
It could
in
be,
the
yeah.
middle of this field
right.
using the tablet system, no monitors, big amps like Vox had brought out the big 120-watt amps or something, whatever it was. So that's the sound. And I mean, when
The
you listen
fans
to
are screaming.
the performance, it's
Uh,
still incredible, so enhancing that would be even better. But just amazing to think
They were just
with
a
that
great little rock
noise
and
going
band.
on,
They were just a
and
great
they
wee band.
could perform like that with
I'm
the,
saying they were just a great rock and roll band.
oh,
Just
yeah.
they just if somebody moved the leg, they knew that was the next thing to go or whatever. It's
I
just
always remember watching Washington when the Beatles first came, '64,
Hmm.
and they had the stage. And it's
yeah.
you're catching wee things that you do live, where you have to keep the momentum going. And it's amazing because Lennon just turns to Ringo like that, and you hear him doing a quick wee
Yeah,
minor
yeah.
jink like that. It's barely audible, but it's just so they can get their note to go right into "She Loves You," because as soon as he goes jink, because Ringo comes in with the intro from the drums. But I remember watching it and thinking, that's incredible. Someone obviously learned through playing Hamburg and Cavern, but
Yeah.
he just finished one song, he's doing something, he goes jink, and he comes in with it, it's bang, and he went, that was in the early days, it was just brilliant. Just something
Yeah.
simple like that.
Well,
But
John said that if you wanted to see the Beatles at their best, go to the Hamburg days, but you need
uh,
those recordings so you can hear what they were like back then.
Ken, I think somebody's got to do something with that. I think at some point. It's sad to say, okay, Ringo's still here and Paul's still here, but once they go, somebody's going to do this. You know.
Yeah,
it's
there's
just
still some limitations of what you can do with today's technology, but
Yeah.
as they keep on improving, I would hope that
They'll try and clean it up
more
somehow.
Beatles estates would approve more of this stuff coming out, because if they don't put it out, there's some
It's
fans that have the
lost.
technology and it's already out there if you go look on YouTube. You can
Yeah.
isolate a lot of stuff from Beatles recordings, and
yeah,
so
yeah.
many people find that fascinating. But if you want to make some of those mixes better,
Yeah.
and to me, I grew up on these mixes, flaws and all, and I'm so used to them being the way that they are, and to me, they're near perfect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, Some people think don't touch it because that's the way it was.
Well, you know what? I agree with that. I agree with that because
Yeah.
a good pal of ours called Alec McKechnie, who's a bass player in a Liverpool band, and
Yeah.
he was at Liverpool Town Hall when the Beatles came back and saw him. He says it was amazing. He says Lennon had a great rock and roll voice. He says, but when McCartney screamed, he says, it's something I'll cherish all my life. Standing in front of him, there's only 30 people there, and
Right.
McCartney giving it right after Hamburg. And no, you don't want it doctored, because you're right. That's history, and it's totally historic. It's the blends, it's how they do it. It's like McCartney used to say. George Harrison wasn't standing there with a plectrum just waiting for a solo.
Right.
Well, you listen to this boy. They knew what they're doing. You really got a hold on me.
Very creative, very innovative.
They would double on vocals, then they would just different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just have to give everybody the gauge to try and do things.
Well, there's a lot of sides to this when it comes to mixing the Beatles and everything, because I know a lot of people had trouble hearing Paul's bass on the early recordings or hearing when Ringo drummed. So, Ringo has always been very underrated as a drummer. And a lot of the reason why I think so is because people couldn't really hear everything he was doing. And now it's becoming clearer and clearer. So he's getting more respect for that.
And plus, when you see the all-star band, you've got Ringo and he's doing pick up the pieces where he came out show, all these hits, Toto,
Right.
it just shows you how versatile.
But Pete Best was thing as well.
Well, but Pete, we did a
show.
We did a show at the what's the name of that place in Liverpool? The one that's shut.
I know. I can
There's
see
a
that.
theatre anyway, but we got two drum kits set up, and we had Neil in this, and we had Denny Laine, and our band, and Pete Best was playing 4 songs with us,
Uh-huh.
but he had to pick them. So effectively, they were all the same kind of song.
Right.
And they days, it must have been around about 92 or something. In they days, he wouldn't play Beatles songs that, like a hit record. It would have to be from Hamburg or the Liverpool sessions. But I always remember because a friend of ours owns the Cavern, Bill Heckel. So we were going on to do the finale and it was mobbed. And I thought, better get Pete on. So I went through to the dressing room and Pete was getting interviewed for some TV. I says, Pete, that's the finale. Going to need you on stage just now. Sorry to interrupt. So you come up and you got on it. Well, we were doing stuff like, I can't remember, I Feel Fine or something, a couple of Beatles songs it was. And there was we had a drummer as well, but he had to play on the Beatles songs. And Billy said, how did you get on to play on the Beatles songs? I said, I just asked them to get up, and I never even thought. Just to me, Beatles song's a Beatles song, whether it's early or whatever, He said, well done. So that was it. And I don't know, but he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. And he was a Beatle,
I'm about to see him in concert probably in a few days from now. So I've known him.
On a cruise or something.
He's on a cruise, but he's playing 4 dates in New England.
Oh,
And one of them's in Rhode Island. Another's in New Hampshire, one's in Massachusetts, and the other is in upstate New York, actually. So I'm going to probably see him in Rhode Island.
We played on the beach thing
in Rhode Island.
In Rhode Island. The guy that runs it, yeah.
Oh, okay. You mean the one coming up? The one coming up?
No, we have played it.
We played it about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Because we went on, and it was a beautiful day.
I remember I had my jeans on, it was roasting.
And he said, if you can do, would you be able to do 3 1-hour spots? And we said, no, we'll just play straight through for 3 hours. So we just played. He says, you're kidding me.
The beach was full.
The beach was mobbed, so we just kept playing for 3 hours straight through, and everybody had a ball, It was great, Rhode Island.
I must remember wear shorts the next time. God.
That must have been in the Squamicut, right?
There was some kind of he had a restaurant on the beach. It's like a fish restaurant as well.
And there was a guy from Liverpool that did a radio program, I can't remember his name. He was,
No,
he
he was
lived.
an older guy at the time.
Uh,
He was an older guy.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyhow,
Right. So,
and
uh,
Boppers, of course. We played Boppers. Is it
okay.
Boppers?
Walker.
That
was New York, wasn't
No, that was East
it?
Haven.
East Haven, yeah.
Boy, the next time you're in this area, you got to let me know.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm missing out on
Well,
all these great shows.
Yeah.
the thing is, Shannon, is a good friend of ours, and we've been talking about coming out, and we want to do a benefit thing out in New York or round a bit, and the East Coast definitely, because we've got friends. A friend of ours, Irene Barr, that lives in Hyannisport. Tony Rayner, I don't know if you know Tony.
No, I know Shannon.
Yeah, it's Shannon.
Shannon's
Good
great.
friend of ours.
Shannon's great.
She did the cover for Denny's single as well.
Right. Yeah. There's no relation, right?
No,
No,
no.
she's
It's
a
just a
Mark.
coincidence.
She's a Mark and he's a Mick.
She's a Mark, I'm a Mick.
Okay, there
MC.
you go.
She's MAC. Yeah.
So how many copies were made of the CD?
It was maybe 150 or something.
Which we paid for.
And
Yeah.
Steve, I sent Steve got a load, and obviously we sent complimentaries to MP&L, New York and London.
Right.
But then Elizabeth got them. But I was hoping to actually speak to Elizabeth before we came on. There's a couple of things that we're hoping to tie up with that,
Okay.
the company
But
that to get involved.
are there any copies left of those CDs? If anybody watching wants to buy it?
Yeah, I think she's got them on her page, as far as I know. You can. This is the issue that goes with the probate, but I think you can buy them on the official Denny Laine page, what she has, because what I've said is if you sell these until we can get somebody involved that wants to take it on, we could always just replenish them,
Right.
because we got a local company that did it for her. We just took the master and so they're all ready to be redone. But we're really hoping that we can get a bigger company that wants to get involved with it.
Yeah.
We own the master tapes so that we can make them available for a company.
But, at the end of the day, we're really proud of the single. It's yeah. I think it's it's done justice. Well,
I've got one here.
That's the cover.
You have to text me your address.
Just turn that window.
And that's it there. And the
yeah, push it in, Steve.
Nice. Move it over this way so we can see the 4 photos there.
Well, so the 4 photos, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you got the keyboard player and
Denny and Steve.
Denny and Steve.
Top right.
Steve.
Me on the bottom there. This one here.
Okay.
Keyboard player. Yeah.
Very nice.
And what Shannon did was with the
actual disc. Put it right in, Steve.
Oh, beautiful.
And what she's got hidden clues, like there's Band on the Run, there's Back to the Egg, there's loads of things in this photograph. So the idea was Shannon wants to make the print available and anything else. And once we get somebody that wants to get involved with it, and then people can buy maybe copies of the print and that, and it would go into the estate. That's the idea. But it's, as I say, from November when we were going to release it, there's been a few hold-ups here. But,
Okay.
So we look upon it as if it's a taster. We've still to get it out there properly, which we will.
So what I will do in the description box for this video is put a link to Denny's website if it's available through there. And if anyone wants to get in contact with you guys, if you want to give me your emails, or I have them anyway, or maybe through Facebook, in case they want to contact you to do anything at all to help distribute this. What's that?
We don't have a person Facebook, but the band does. We've got there's a girl that runs our Facebook page.
Okay. Hopefully someone could help you out in getting this song out there.
That would be great.
With wider distribution.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to help Denny's estate, and that was the whole objective of this. Try and help Liz. Get some money in. So,
And kind of the other good thing which I like is the fact that he's Denny Laine, but it's bringing his profile back up. The fact is,
where it should be.
It's a good product. It is very good. Very proud of it. Shannon's done great with it. Paul's got behind it, so it's for the right reasons and it's genuine. That's the thing. It's genuine. I mean, Denny was a great friend, but we're fans as well. And
Right.
from take the friendship away, it's a fans thank you back for the fans. Because we're all fans,
Right.
and God, let's enjoy everything that they've all given us. I mean, I still play every record. In my car now, if you'd like that, go back to it. And every song takes you in a different memory.
Yeah,
It's brilliant.
I can tell you.
It's nice getting you here, Ken, and it'll be great if once we can get organised, Grant's fighting fit again, we are definitely going to come to the States and have Shannon and a few friends, and we'll do some. So hopefully we'll meet up and stuff like that. That would be.
I would love that.
Absolutely.
I can tell you the first time that I interviewed Denny, I talked about Time to Hide, and the 76 tour, to this day, that concert that I saw at Madison Square Garden is the greatest show I ever went to. And I've been to a lot of McCartney shows, but
Yeah.
Time to Hide was a definite highlight, not just for me, but the fans in the audience, because that song was getting a lot of airplay, at least in the New York area
Sure.
where I'm from. When Wings at the Speed of Sound came out, a lot of the album cuts got played, and Time to Hide was one of them. And it really resonated, I think, very well on stage, and the crowd loved it. So he was quite pleased when I said that to him in my first interview. And
Oh,
I'm glad that you decided to cover this particular song because it's an outstanding track from the Wings days.
That's the thing. We do it slightly different, but it's true to the record. So it's the way we used to do it with Denny.
Right.
it's a great song. Yeah, it was the one he always liked to open up with. So it's set the seed of the night.
Yeah.
So it was,
And you were talking before about how he didn't want to have to rely so much on the connection with Paul and with Wings. But the last few times I saw him live, actually, the last time was an all solo show with just him on acoustic guitar. But before that, he would do both the entire Moody Blues album that he was on and Band on the Run complete with the band.
yeah,
And he told me that he was thinking about doing Back to the Egg
really.
tour with that. That would have been cool. But he was so nice to me throughout all the years. I just feel very grateful and privileged that I got to know him.
Yeah.
What I like about Danny with that situation is he obviously it was a mutual admiration thing between Paul and him, and he was very protective of that as well. All the time that we've known him, which is a long time, he was very protective of Paul and all these things. He would, tell you stories and things and that what happened and how it went. But I remember when we took him to London that time, after these shows in Liverpool, he hadn't met up with Paul. And it was a couple of years later, we were playing someplace, and he phoned. He says, I'm just giving you a quick phone to tell you, I met up with Paul. I met him last night. It was at a UB40 gig, and Maxie Priest. He says, and I came out the dressing room, and I'm walking up, and Paul's coming down. And he went, I recognise that face. So they sat down and had a couple of drinks and talking about the kids and the past. So that was good. So he was chuffed. And I always thought it was good of him to phone us and let us know that, and then the photograph came out of them. And I think over the other years, the past few years, Paul and Denny have been in touch maybe once or twice or whatever, maybe more. They kind of rekindled all that. So
I'm kind of glad
that was good.
I'm glad of that before Denny passed. So it's
yeah.
Right.
And they were still friends. That's
I
good.
mean, they produced some great music together. I mean, having the Beatles and having John Lennon and Paul McCartney stand at a mic singing like that, and then you've got, like you pointed out, Denny Laine, Paul McCartney, Linda McCartney, you know, and yet, and I remember saying to Denny, you know what, Denny, this is when we did the Wings reunion. I says, Paul's recorded with Stevie Wonder, he's recorded with Michael Jackson, Stanley Clarke, you name it, Steve Kant, everybody. I said, but you think about it, the album that he made with you is the one that really stands out that everybody goes, this is pretty something else. You must be chuffed about, The
Uh-huh.
band on still is like the pinnacle. Whether people think it's the best one, it's impossible. It's when somebody says to you, what's the best Lennon McCartney song? People say,
Well, we'll
it's
just start.
impossible.
We'll just start now.
You just say them all. I mean, so where do you want to start?
Or you could
How long?
say, you mean today or last week?
We'll
Well,
just count back.
it's never ending. You put a track on it, and it does transport you back to something in your life.
Right.
But no, yeah.
Well, it's like I always say, there's an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the Beatles, and it's always giving, keeps on
Yeah,
giving.
yeah. Oh, you hear young kids going about, even going about the bands of today, but you'll never hear of them in 10 years' time. But there you go. There's the Beatles. How many years ago was that? 1960 odds or whatever
Uh-huh.
it was. You're still hearing them.
The thing
Yeah.
is, it still amazes me that there's more coming out now. Well, Paul's doing that new book now, isn't he? That comes out, Band on the Run, and it's coming out in August, November or something. So there's
There's
all these things.
there's a yeah, well, he's putting out a book, and then there's a documentary called Man on the Run that's coming out sometime
Yeah,
this year.
oh, that'll
And
be good.
we're still hoping that he reissues London Town and Back to the Egg as box sets. We've been
Uh-huh.
waiting for that for a long time. So this could be a big year for the Wings side of things. And plus, he has a new album coming out sometime this year. So this could be a big year for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yet, Wings are still not in the Hall of Fame. When you think
They
they
should
should
be in the Hall of Fame.
be in the Hall of Fame, I think so. They
Well,
should definitely.
you should listen to some of the podcasts that I'm a part of because once in a while we have a conversation like this. And there are some people who think that there's really no difference between Wings and solo Paul McCartney. It's all Paul McCartney. And I completely disagree with that. So,
I agree. No, no, Wings is defined in a different way from Paul. That's what I'm saying. Paul kind of reinvents himself. If you want to take the years from Wings and then where he went to with the solo, and then how it changes again, it's changed again, and then you've got the Fireman and all the other things. I mean, there's a lot of people that are probably saying that Paul maybe shouldn't be playing live. I don't agree with that at all. When we saw him in the Cavern, he was incredible. He was incredible, and that was with smaller gear. It wasn't with stadium equipment. I
right.
mean, they did bring their own equipment, and but sounded amazing, amazing, and so not so relaxed and so funny.
Uh,
He, he really is funny. And when you watch the early Paul McCartney, and it's very parrot fashion when he's not like that when
Just fell back in his Scouse accent, and
that was funny.
it's funny. It was really funny just to watch it. It was really good.
is that, by the way?
This is Rosie.
That's yours, Grant?
Yeah, it's my dog, Westy. But she's wondering about all these wires are under here. I'm just scared she pulls all the bloody wires out. So as she goes in, look,
I hope she doesn't have three legs.
as you go for
Okay.
go for yes. No, she's wondering about underneath all the wires. So I'm just picking up. So
Hmm. All
oh,
right.
stupid.
So this has been great having the two of you on here.
We've
And
enjoyed it. Nice to meet you.
yeah, same here. And soon as you know you're going to be in the States, let me know, especially the eastern side,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and I will let my audience know about that. And whatever information you can let me know about the record, and if it's going to be reissued,
Yeah,
more copies, whatever, let me know. And I'll be
absolutely.
happy to put it into my radio show as well.
Yeah, great. Great
Definitely.
stuff.
That'll be
Great.
brilliant. But
Yeah.
yeah, we look forward to meeting up with you. I definitely want to come out and do that.
Okay.
And drop me your address and we'll get some stuff sent out to you.
Okay. Guys, thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having
It's
us.
been
That
a
was brilliant.
privilege.
Thank you.
Been a
And
pleasure.
thanks to all of you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And we'll see you very soon. Take care. Bye bye.